The group text arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, 3 weeks before Father's Day. I was still at my desk reviewing quarterly reports from our international divisions, when my phone lit up with my sister Natalie's message to the family chat. Father's Day barbecue at Mom and Dad's. Sunday, June 18th, 2 p.m. bringing the kids. Can't wait to celebrate Dad with everyone. My brother Cameron replied within seconds. We'll be there. Jenna's making her famous potato salad. Then my mother's response. Wonderful. Cameron, Natalie and the grandkids. Perfect day with my babies. I stared at the screen reading the thread 3 times. For people in the family chat. 3 people were invited. The math was simple, brutal and completely familiar. My name is Jordan Hayes. I'm 34 years old and I've been invisible to my family for so long that their exclusion doesn't even come with an explanation anymore. It just comes with silence. I set my phone face down on my mahogany desk and returned to the financial projections spreadsheet glowing on my monitor. The numbers blurred slightly. I blinked, refocused and kept working. I had a board meeting at 7 a.m. and self-pity wasn't on the agenda. If you've ever been treated like you don't matter by the people who should love you most, this story is for you. What happens when the family disappointment turns out to be the one person they can't afford to lose? Stick around because this revenge is cold, calculated, and completely deserved. Hit that subscribe button because you're about to witness a family hierarchy collapse in real time. The exclusion wasn't new. It was just the latest chapter in a story that started when I was 17 and told my parents I wanted to study business instead of becoming a nurse like my mother, or a teacher like Natalie, or working in construction management like Cameron. Business, my father had said, his fork pausing over his meatloaf. That's pretty vague, Jordan. What are you actually going to do? Corporate management, I'd said. Maybe finance. I want to run companies. Cameron had laughed. Not mean, just dismissive. Run companies. You have to start by working for them first. That's the plan, I'd said. My mother had patted my hand. Well, every company needs secretaries. That's a stable job. I'd gotten a full scholarship to State University. They'd been proud for about a week. Then Natalie announced she was pregnant with her first child, and my scholarship became old news. At my graduation 4 years later, they'd shown up 20 minutes late because Cameron's son had a baseball game that morning. They left early because Natalie's daughter had a dance recital that evening. I graduated summa cum laude. They missed me walking across the stage. My first corporate job paid $42,000 a year. I lived in a studio apartment with furniture from thrift stores and ate ramen 4 nights a week to save money. I sent photos of my tiny office cubicle to the family chat. My mother replied, "Nice desk." Cameron sent a thumbs up. Natalie didn't respond. When I got promoted to junior analyst and my salary jumped to $58,000, I called my father excited. "That's great, honey," he'd said. "Hey, can I call you back? Cameron's here and we're working on his deck project." He didn't call back. I worked 70-hour weeks. I studied for my MBA at night. I learned every aspect of corporate finance, operations, mergers, acquisitions. I networked relentlessly. I made myself invaluable. At 26, I became the youngest senior analyst at Brennan Industrial Group. Salary, $95,000. I told my parents at Thanksgiving dinner. "That's wonderful," my mother had said, then immediately turned to Natalie. "Show everyone the pictures of the kids' Halloween costumes." At 28, I was recruited to Meridian Financial as a director of operations. Salary, $147,000 plus bonuses. I mentioned it at Christmas. My father nodded absently. Director of operations. So you manage the office. I manage 3 regional divisions, I'd said. 42 people report to me. That's a lot of paperwork, Cameron had joked. At 30, I was headhunted by Garrison Enterprises, one of the largest manufacturing conglomerates in the country. They offered me VP of Strategic Development. Salary, $225,000, plus stock options and performance bonuses. I'd called my father on my drive home from signing the contract, hands shaking with excitement. "VP," he'd said. "What does that mean exactly?" "Vice President. I'm part of the executive leadership team. I report directly to the CEO. "Huh," he'd said. "Well, don't let it go to your head. Those corporate jobs, they'll chew you up and spit you out." I'd stopped telling them about promotions after that. Last year at 33, I'd been named Chief Operating Officer of Garrison Enterprises. My salary was $412,000. My total compensation package, including bonuses and stock, was worth approximately $847,000 annually. I oversaw 2,300 employees across 11 facilities. I sat on the board. I made decisions that affected millions of dollars in revenue. My family thought I was doing well in business, the way you describe someone who managed a sporting goods store. They didn't ask, so I didn't tell them. And now, 3 weeks before Father's Day, they didn't even bother inviting me to a backyard barbecue. I picked up my phone and opened the family chat again. No new messages. Just Natalie's cheerful announcement and my mother's warm response about her babies. 3 people. Not 4. I could have texted. What about me? I could have called my mother and asked if the exclusion was intentional or an oversight. But I'd learned a long time ago that asking to be included hurt worse than being left out. I locked my phone and went back to work. The next morning I had breakfast with Andrew Chin. No, Andrew Foster, the CEO of Garrison Enterprises. We met quarterly to discuss strategic direction, but this meeting had been his request. Jordan, he'd said, setting down his coffee at the restaurant, I want to talk about your father. My stomach dropped. My father. Harold Hayes, right? He works at Pemberton Manufacturing. I nodded slowly. Pemberton Manufacturing. My father had worked there for 31 years. He was a floor supervisor, managing a team of assembly line workers. He was proud of his work. He'd raised 3 kids on that salary. Pemberton's one of our acquisition targets, Andrew said carefully. We're planning to purchase them in Q3. I wanted to give you a heads up before it goes public. My mind raced. Acquisition. Full buyout. Complete integration. We'll absorb their operations into our manufacturing division. Some redundancies, obviously. We'll need to restructure management. Restructure management. My father was a manager. When does this happen? I asked. We're finalizing terms now. The announcement will be in 4 weeks. Integration starts in August. 4 weeks. Right after Father's Day. I wanted you to know, Andrew continued, because I know this puts you in a difficult position. If you need to recuse yourself from any decisions involving Pemberton, I understand. I took a sip of my coffee thinking, what decisions will need to be made? We'll need to evaluate all current management positions. Determine who fits our operational model, who doesn't. It's standard protocol. And who makes those determinations? Andrew looked at me steadily. You do. You're the personnel decisions for acquired companies fall under your authority. The irony was so sharp it almost drew blood. My father, who'd dismissed my career for 16 years, who couldn't be bothered to remember my job title, who'd excluded me from Father's Day because I wasn't worth the effort of a text message, was about to have his employment fate decided by me. I'll handle it, I said quietly. Andrew nodded. I knew you would. That afternoon, I reviewed Pemberton's organizational charts and financial records. My father's name appeared on page 4. Harold Hayes, Floor Supervisor, Assembly Division. Salary, $62,000. 31 years of service. Performance reviews. Adequate. No disciplinary issues. No outstanding achievements. He was exactly what Garrison didn't need. We had younger supervisors with better training working for less money. On paper, Harold Hayes was redundant. I closed the file and stared out my office window at the city skyline. The sunset was turning the buildings gold and orange, beautiful and indifferent. I could save my father's job. One signature, one notation in the personnel files, and he'd be protected. Or I could let the process play out naturally. Let him be evaluated like everyone else. Let him experience what it felt like to be overlooked. My phone buzzed. The family chat. Natalie had posted photos of her kids making Father's Day cards. The grandkids are so excited for Sunday. Cameron replied with heart emojis. My mother, I can't wait to see these in person. I looked at the photos. Construction paper, glitter, crayons. World's best grandpa. We love you, Pops. I wasn't in those photos. I wouldn't be there when they were presented. I opened my work files and began drafting the personnel evaluation criteria for Pemberton's integration. Father's Day arrived on a bright, cloudless Sunday. I spent the morning at the gym, then came home to my downtown loft and made myself breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. I ate at my kitchen island, scrolling through emails on my tablet. At 2:15 p.m., right when the barbecue would be starting, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. This is Jordan. Jordan. It's Uncle Paul. Uncle Paul. My father's brother. I hadn't spoken to him in maybe 3 years. Hey, Uncle Paul, I said cautiously. Happy Father's Day. Well, I guess not for you, huh? But hey, I'm at your parents' house right now, and someone just mentioned that Garrison Enterprises is buying Pemberton. That's wild. Your dad's worked there forever. My hand tightened on the phone. Yeah, I heard about that. Crazy timing, right? Anyway, your mom was just saying how worried they are about layoffs. I told them, hey, doesn't Jordan work in business? Maybe she knows somebody. Do you? I closed my eyes. I might. That'd be amazing. Harold's getting older, you know? It will be tough for him to find something new at his age. If you could put in a good word somewhere, that'd really help the family out. The family. The family that hadn't invited me to Father's Day. I'll see what I can do, I said evenly. You're the best. Hey, you want to talk to your dad? I'm actually in the middle of something. Tell everyone I said hi. I hung up before he could respond. I sat very still in my quiet apartment. Outside, I could hear the distant sounds of the city. Cars honking. Someone's music playing. Life continues, indifferent and constant. They wanted my help. They didn't want my presence, but they wanted my help. I picked up my phone and opened my work email. The personnel evaluation document sat in my drafts, ready for final review. I'd been meticulous. Every criteria was fair, objective, measurable. Harold Hayes scored poorly in almost every category. I added one final note to the document. Recommend termination of employment for all personnel who do not meet minimum performance thresholds. No exceptions for tenure. I read it 3 times. Then I hit send. The email went to Andrew Foster and the entire acquisition team. By Monday morning it would be official policy. I set my phone down and poured myself a glass of wine. My hands weren't shaking. I didn't feel guilty. I felt nothing at all. The announcement went public on Tuesday, June 27th. Garrison Enterprises acquires Pemberton Manufacturing in $340 million deal. The news articles mentioned expected workforce reductions. Industry analysts speculated about management restructuring. My father's name didn't appear anywhere, but his job was now part of a corporate consolidation he couldn't control. I didn't call home. Nobody called me. On July 5th, Pemberton employees received official notices. Integration would begin August 1st. All personnel would be re-evaluated for positions within the new structure. Some would be offered jobs. Others would receive severance packages. My father called me on July 8th. I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed. I let it go to voicemail. He called again that evening. I was having dinner with friends. I didn't answer. He called a 3rd time the next morning. I was reviewing acquisition reports. I picked it up. Jordan, he said, his voice strained. We need to talk. Hi, Dad. What's going on? This Garrison thing. The buyout. They're saying there's going to be layoffs. Management positions especially. I saw that in the news, I said neutrally. Your Uncle Paul said you work in business. Do you know anyone at Garrison? Anyone who could help? I paused. Let the silence stretch. Dad, I actually do work at Garrison. You, what? I work at Garrison Enterprises. I have for 4 years. You work there. His voice rose. Why didn't you say anything? I did, I said quietly. I told you when I got hired. You said corporate jobs chew people up and spit them out. He didn't respond. What do you do there? He asked finally. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. Silence. Long hollow silence. You're, what? Chief Operating Officer. I oversee all operational divisions including acquisitions and personnel integration. I could hear him breathing. The Pemberton buyout, I continued, falls under my authority. I'm in charge of the restructuring. Jordan. His voice cracked. Are you saying you're the one making decisions about layoffs? Yes. And you didn't think to mention this? I laughed. It came out colder than I intended. Dad, when's the last time you asked me about my job? That's not. When's the last time you came to anything I invited you to? When's the last time you remembered my birthday without mom reminding you? Jordan, that's not fair. When's the last time you invited me to Father's Day? Silence. You didn't even text me, I said. You made a family group chat. Natalie, Cameron mom. Not me. We thought you were busy, he said weakly. You're always working. I'm always working because nobody ever asked me to stop. He didn't respond. I have to go, I said. I have a meeting. Jordan, wait. Please. Can you help me? I've been at Pemberton for 31 years. I'll evaluate your file like everyone else's, I said. Everyone else's? I'm your father. Then maybe you should have treated me like your daughter. I hung up. My hands were shaking now. I set the phone down and pressed my palms flat against my desk. The office was quiet. My assistant had gone home. Outside, the sun was setting again, painting the windows gold. I waited for the guilt. It didn't come. The personnel decisions were finalized on July 22nd. Harold Hayes was offered a severance package. 6 months salary, benefits continuation and outplacement services. He was not offered a position at Garrison. My mother called me the day the letters went out. How could you do this to your father? She said, her voice breaking. He gave you everything. He gave me a roof and food, I said. That's what parents are supposed to do. It's not a favor. You're heartless. I'm fair. Every employee was evaluated by the same criteria. Dad didn't meet the standards. He's family. So am I said quietly. But that didn't matter on Father's Day. She hung up on me. Natalie sent a furious text. You're disgusting. Dad's devastated. Cameron called me a corporate robot. I blocked the family chat. 2 weeks later, my father left a voicemail. I need to apologize. Your mother and we didn't realize what you'd accomplished. We should have paid more attention. We should have been there. I'm sorry. I listened to it 3 times. Then I deleted it. In September, I received a promotion. Chief Executive Officer. Andrew Foster was retiring. The board voted unanimously to name me his successor. My salary increased to $950,000. I didn't tell my family. In October, I bought a house. 4 bedrooms, mountain views, property worth $1.8 million. I didn't invite them to the housewarming. In December, I sent Christmas cards to Natalie and Cameron's kids. Gift cards inside. Generous ones. I didn't send anything to my parents. On Father's Day the following year, I received a text from my mother. We're having a barbecue. 2 p.m. You're invited if you want to come. I wanted to come. I read the text sitting in my office, 73 floors above the city. I typed a response. I have plans. I didn't. But they didn't need to know that. I've learned something important over the past year. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And respect isn't given because someone shares your DNA. It's earned by showing up, paying attention, and treating people like they matter. My family spent 34 years teaching me I didn't matter. So I disappeared. Not loudly. Not with fanfare. Just quietly, completely the same way they'd erased me from their lives years ago. And when they finally noticed I was gone, when they finally needed me, when they finally realized what I'd become, it was far too late. The invisible daughter had become untouchable. And I've never felt more free. If this story hit you hard, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, leave a comment below. Tell me your story. You're not alone and your voice matters here. Smash that like button if you believe respect is earned, not owed. Subscribe for more stories of quiet revenge and hard-won justice. And remember, the people who overlook you today might desperately need you tomorrow. Make sure they've earned that privilege. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.